A 70-year-old line from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings is pretty worrying when it comes to The Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. An upcoming prequel that's set to be directed by Gollum actor Andy Serkis and produced by Peter Jackson, The Hunt for Gollum has been light on the details of its story. Although Jackson's trilogy based on The Hobbit faltered and The Rings of Power Season 2 is uneven at best, fans of Middle-earth are tentatively excited about a return to Tolkien's beloved world led by some familiar faces. Given when The Hunt for Gollum takes place in LOTR's timeline, it's difficult to say what fresh plot points the movie will cover. Before becoming the ring-corrupted creature known as Gollum, the film's title character was a hobbit called Smeagol. On his birthday, Smeagol discovers the One Ring at the bottom of a river. After murdering his cousin over the precious, Smeagol takes possession of it for the next 500 years or so, spending most of his centuries in the caverns of the Misty Mountains. Unfortunately, one LOTR line makes this Hunt for Gollum time frame even more worrisome. In Tolkien's first Lord of the Rings novel, The Fellowship of the Ring, Aragorn says something that raises a lot of questions about the Hunt for Gollum's narrative. During the Council of Elrond, the main Lord of the Rings characters discuss the One Ring. While determining what to do with Dark Lord Sauron's all-powerful and manipulative object, Aragorn shares some information from his time as a ranger. Suspicious of his friend Bilbo Baggins' magic ring, the wizard Gandalf tasks Aragorn with finding Gollum, the creature who, supposedly, found the One Ring after it was no longer Isildur's burden. During the Council of Elrond in Rivendell, Aragorn admits that there's little need to tell of the perils he faced while hunting Gollum. A few lines later, the ranger expands upon that remark, noting that his time spent following Gollum, and seeing what the Hobbit had become, was the worst part of his journey. Obviously, it was difficult for Aragorn to watch the broken Gollum waste away after being completely twisted by Sauron's One Ring. However, Aragorn's lines also imply that nothing of major importance happened during his hunt for Gollum, which is a huge problem for Serkis movie. If the Hunt for Gollum wants to justify its own existence, the upcoming movie needs to change Tolkien's lore. Although the author of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit doesn't go into great detail about Gollum's time with the ring, aside from how long Gollum had the One Ring, it's clear that the writer didn't think up anything very noteworthy. Otherwise, Aragorn probably would have mentioned more about his time on the hunt. Meant to show just how all-consuming the One Ring's influence is, Gollum's time with the ring didn't need a ton of fleshing out. By having Gollum waste away in the Misty Mountains, subsisting on raw fish and goblin meat, Tolkien accomplished what he set out to do with the character's story. Readers don't need to know much else. The once simple life of the hobbit named Smeagol is twisted into unrecognizable suffering, all because he was drawn to the One Ring. If anything, Tolkien's passages about Gollum illustrate just how important the One Ring's destruction is, and Aragorn's memories of his time near Gollum reiterate that. Even so, something more interesting must happen if Hunt for Gollum plans to have compelling stakes. So far, Gollum's story doesn't sound like something that needs to be told in one of the standalone Lord of the Rings movies. Aragorn's description of his time spent hunting Gollum pretty much confirms this line of thinking. Not every story is one worth telling in a feature-length film format, but, unfortunately, Hollywood's insistence on milking beloved franchises and IPs eclipses any legitimate artistic or storytelling concerns. Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy is actually a solid example of the LOTR franchise making a massive misstep in the name of profits. Although the Hobbit trilogy features some solid moments and creative choices, there was absolutely no reason to break the 300-page novel into 6 hours of silver screen content. The decision to turn the book into something more epic in scope resulted in a bloated trilogy, one that takes away from the enduring story at its center. In the same vein, The Hunt for Gollum feels like a hollow idea, a prequel that capitalizes on viewers' nostalgia while adding nothing meaningful to the Lord of the Rings franchise.